What's the first game that comes to mind when you think of the Xbox 360? Maybe Gears of War, Halo, or even Grand Theft Auto. But today on this video, I'm gonna show you guys some Japanese RPGs that are on the Xbox 360 that you definitely should give a go. So stay tuned. Nerd Lair. That's right, on the American Xbox 360 console, there are a good number of Japanese role-playing games that you definitely should check out. And I have a shit ton of them right here, so let's get started with my first pick. Number 1, Blue Dragon. One of the things that this game has going for it is the art style, which is done by Akira Toriyama, the guy who does Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Quest. The game's concept is fairly simplistic, where you have a group of party members who are trying to save the world and can control shadow creatures. The game's combat is a standard turn-based role-playing style, which in my opinion doesn't take away from it at all. The main problem I have with this game is the American voice acting, which I believe you can turn off and switch to the Japanese version, which isn't much better, but it's better than this.
It burns! I'm dying. It hurts. I don't think this was such a good idea.
Visually, this game is really impressive, even still to this day. I'll have it go on the record and say that I don't mind this game all that much. It's a very, very standard role-playing game, which there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So if you can find a copy of this game, which is fairly cheap nowadays, definitely give it a go if you're into the Akira Toriyama art style with very standard and simplistic role-playing mechanics. Next up is Lost Odyssey. Oddly enough, the people who made this game, Mistwalker, also made Blue Dragon, the one I just talked about. Lost Odyssey was a game like none other when it came out. It was 4 discs long, which was very uncommon. I would say the storyline, at least at the time, was pretty compelling, but now it's kind of generic, I would say. Still worth playing. You play as a guy named Kaim, who is trying to reclaim 1,000 years of lost memories, which sounds really, really cool, and it is, kind of. For the time. On top of that, it had a really cool combat system that implemented a thing called the ring aim system as well as skill link system, which basically is like a quick time event in the battle. So you're not only just having a standard turn-based role-playing combat, but you're also having quick time events that linked up with other attackers that made it for a really intense combat. Hey Mistwalker, I would really appreciate if you would make a sequel to Lost Odyssey on the new Xbox Series X, because, well, there's no games currently for that console, so how about it? Next game is Sep Saga. Sep Saga. Sep Saga. If y'all don't know, I'm a huge fan of card games, especially card games that have RPG elements in them, and Sep Saga is no exception here. Now, this game has multiple different versions on multiple different consoles, but this particular one is only on Xbox 360. Sep Saga is the perfect combination of a tabletop role-playing game, a turn-based role-playing game, and a card battle game. I think there's something like 500 unique different cards that you can find in this game and use to battle with, which is really cool, and I love the wizardry-esque first-person combat system when you're battling with the cards. One of the biggest draws for this game is the charm that comes with it. If you're someone who's into card battling games or RPGs with a turn-based first-person combat system, definitely give Sep Saga a go. Any of them, actually, and you can actually play the newest one on the 3DS if you don't have an Xbox 360. All the games are pretty much the same. They're all fun, and that's the most important part. Next game, Infinite Undiscovery. Infinite Undiscovery is one of those sleeper hit titles that when it came out, not a lot of people remembered it or even played it, and over the years it sort of gained a cult following, which in my opinion is well warranted because it's a pretty decent game. There's a menagerie of different cool characters you can have in your party on this game, and I wouldn't say the combat is necessarily turn-based. In a way it is. It's really hard to explain. I would say it's closer to Star Ocean if you know what that combat system is like. There's also a really cool elemental aspect to the combat system as far as like gear and weapons, and it's something that I think goes unnoticed a lot of the time. This is one of those games that definitely didn't get a good start, but nowadays a lot of people appreciate it more, I would say. Next up is Tales of Vesperia. Now technically Vesperia is on other consoles now like the Switch and PS4, but back then it was only on Xbox 360, and to me that was really cool because the last Tales of game, I believe, was on the PS2. Tales of Vesperia is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite Tales of game of all time, next to Tales of Symphonia. It was one of those RPGs that I just could not put down when it first came out. It was colorful, it had creative, cool characters, there was a ton of different skills, weapons, armor. It had everything. On top of having a compelling storyline with really, really good character arcs for everyone, it was something that went down in history as one of the best Tales of games of all time. The combat system in Tales of Vesperia has a slight turn-based mechanic system, but more or less it's a real-time hack and slash kind of combat. The game overall is just really, really awesome, and you should definitely give this game a go, and it's also really cheap to buy on Xbox 360, but if you have a PS4 or a Switch, I would probably play it on those because they're the definitive editions of the game, so you get all the DLC content, plus I think bonus content that wasn't in the original Xbox 360 version, so definitely go get those if you want to have a really, really good JRPG experience. And the final game, Eternal Sonata. Eternal Sonata was one of those RPGs that came out that just made you go, whoa. Mainly because of the story of this game, which was fucking awesome. The entire world and the characters that reside within it are a fabrication, a dream, if you will, of the late Chopin, a famous composer who is on his deathbed. This game is a really good combination of Final Fantasy and the Tales of games, where it has a very cool turn-based combat system with really unique characters, an amazing soundtrack, and above all, it's fun. Definitely give this game a go if you can find it. It's also really cheap. 360 games are super cheap right now, so this is the perfect time to stock up on your collection if you don't have that many 360 games in it. And I have a couple honorable mentions. They're not amazing RPGs by any means, but they're worth a mention, I guess. First one, Star Ocean: The Last Hope. It's And the second game, The Last Remnant. It's If there was a JRPG that I might have missed, go ahead and leave it down in the comment section, or let me know if you guys have played any of these and what your thoughts are on them. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this video, hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel because I do content like this every week, so there's always something to watch. Go ahead and check me out on social media. Links are down below in the description, and I will see you guys next time in the Nerd Lair. Stay nostalgic.